Dear colleagues, we approach to the very last part of this event. A lot of things I wanted to say have been said by the colleagues, and I'm very thankful, so you ease my job. But I think we really had an important debate. Sometimes it was really profound debate, bringing our attention to the significant and sometimes essential elements on discussing whether culture is ready for tomorrow's challenges and how cultural creative sectors are ready for tomorrow's challenges. I can say that the conference also witnessed different approaches on the roles cultural sector plays in sustainable development processes. Both in the panels, in the working groups, in the plenaries, we have discussed the importance to evaluate impact of interventions in culture vis-à-vis other sectors. As well, we discussed spillover effects of cultural actions on general economy as well as on the citizens. Well, implications of this debate highlight once again that policy measures and instruments to count culture and to take culture into account have to be further reinforced. Well, Lithuanian Presidency at this point would like to put together some general ideas and reflections and to come up with a few more general conclusions related more to policy making today and in the future. Also, perhaps some homework should be set also for the cultural operators. First of all, very shortly, let me recall that this conference agenda, it took time to develop it, was also aiming to implement the goals of the trio plan, the goals of the three presidencies. Irish, Lithuanian, and Greeks are coming after us. So we had the common plan in the area of culture, which is to demonstrate culture's contribution to job creation and growth, mainly through cultural and creative industries. I would like also to mention that the concept of the conference took closely into account the work done by the previous EU presidencies, in particular Cyprus presidency, council conclusions on cultural governance. And finally, the conference idea was aiming at reflecting major provisions set in the recent European Commission documents, especially Commission's communication on promoting cultural and creative sectors for growth and jobs in the EU. So it was a challenging task we put for ourselves. However, the overreaching aim was to revisit the way we initiate and manage public policies where culture is an integral and inseparable element. Therefore, several conclusions. First, I think I can conclude that there is an acknowledgement of success of the horizontal strategies, designing culture-related investment. That was, however, there was some criticism on strategies on the whole. Estonian colleagues said that we were just trusted and given money to do our initiatives. Lucky them, but it's not always the case. Usually we have to prepare documents and strategies. So, and they work in a horizontal way what relates to cultural and creative sectors. So policymakers responsible for setting national development strategies, especially those innovation strategies, regional sustainable development strategies, are encouraged to look for the new strategic approach to mobilize culture, creative assets, also to apply in full their potential. In this respect, it is important to note that the logic of the interventions should balance investments in infrastructure with the development of services, activities, and human resources. It has been mentioned also in the presentations by the European Commission representatives. Second point, well, strategies have little trust if they are not based on reliable system of indicators. Was mentioned here for many times, data, evidence, collecting evidence. Well, there are good examples in the member states already of evidence-based policy making, or as colleagues here in the morning session said, data-led decision making. Measuring the impact and putting forward the arguments based on the reliable statistics is only for the benefit of the cultural and creative sectors and for the operators. So here both policymakers and cultural institutions and organizations have to work together on reinforcing systematic evaluation of projects, of program results, especially those which cross the boundaries of the cultural sector. And the latter is important to prove the effects of those interventions in culture for the economic development, for the social cohesion. Third point, also mentioned by many colleagues here, is that achievements, and there are achievements in setting partnerships and trans-sectoral cooperation, and they have to be further elaborated. During the conference, we tried to have representation of policymakers and professionals from different fields, though with little success, I would say. Today we have no politicians in the room. Yesterday we had few, but we try further to speak to colleagues, to convince them, to engage them in the cultural policy making as well. However, the debate showed that the smart ways exist to attract players of social, education, industry, business sectors to work in partnerships, developing better innovative products and services. We saw very good examples in the parallel sessions of such cooperation. And finally, the fourth point is capacity and know-how building of the players of the cultural sector is a very important factor in making culture and creative sectors more competitive. Insufficient competences in management, in marketing, ICT, finance could become a major problem for the full participation of the cultural creative sectors in the new financing programs and schemes. So therefore, well, policy makers, I can tell it also to myself, should primarily consider measures for the development of new skills of the sector. Well, it is also very important to mention that today the EU ministers of culture, in their informal meeting in Vilnius, have reflected on the same issues as the conference did. The first panel of their debate was focused on the proactive policies to maintain culture as an agent for the economic growth and cohesion. And the ministers also agreed on the Lithuanian Presidency statement, which calls member states and the European Commission make efforts that culture and creative sectors are addressed properly in the strategies and the planning documents at all levels.